Bahamas Habitat, but tell me a little bit about how you first got into it and sort of the background from growing up as a preacher's kid. How, if that influenced you one way or the other, how did you get to doing something that isn't in a comfortable place, but a place of great ministry?
I mean, obviously growing up in the Methodist Church and having opportunities to be able to serve in different ways, and through Boy Scouts, through our church, and then we had a recycling program at our church that I got involved in. After soccer games on Saturday, I'd go to that at St. Paul's in Mount Juliet, and then that kind of got that service to others, even if it was just throwing bottles in the big, recycling bins. Then it went from there, and we did stuff at Madison Street with LBL at the Land Between the Lakes, and just small community projects. And then my sister Ingrid got involved with the Appalachia Service Project through our cousin's church up in Indiana. So of course, big sister, that's what I wanted to do, and get involved with ASP. And so as soon as I was old enough to do ASP, then I did that, and did that for 4 summers, and then was on staff with them for 3 full-time summers, and then stayed involved with fundraising for a dump truck program, and so got that going and stayed involved. And then even I was in school in Johnson City where they're based out of, so I even did some kind of off-season stuff with them with merchandise, and just really loved that type of mission and ministry. And then in college with my Wesley Foundation at East Tennessee State, our director said we're going to go on an international mission, and everybody got all excited and was so pumped to be doing international. And then he said we're going to the Bahamas, and so everybody freaked out. And I just said this is crazy. Why would you go there? Because all I had heard was it's kind of the party place and just beaches and all that stuff, and that's not what I'm not really. I'd much rather be in the mountains of Appalachia. That's just where my heart was. And so talking to my dad, who was a Methodist minister, I just called him and I said, this doesn't make any sense. And his thing was, well, if there's a mission down there, obviously there's a need that they're trying to meet, and why don't you go down there, and worst case you go to the Bahamas for a week with your friends, and I said, well, I guess that's true. So I did it, and really had my eyes open to something totally different than I had ever expected. And it wasn't we did go to Nassau and we saw the big hotels and everything like that, but we were only there for about a day, and it was so different than being on Eleuthera and being on Curran Island where we were as well for a day, and being in James Cistern at Camp Simonette where we're based now, and Tarpon Bay. Everything was just it was so similar. I never realized how similar it was to Appalachia, and both the pros and the cons of the kind of cons being of these pockets of wealth, surrounded by areas of lower income, and people still living without water and electricity in their homes. And then also just the isolation factor that's so similar, so present in Appalachia, but obviously in the Bahamas, and logistics and everything just very, very difficult, and kind of hard to get things accomplished. But on the positive side, with faith and community and family being such a stronghold in the Family Islands as well, which was so central to Appalachia as well. So it was just an amazing transfer, and my heart was so strong in Appalachia that it was hard for me to kind of transfer almost. But it really was, once I realized those core values and core factors were such a piece in the Family Islands of the Bahamas, it was much easier for me to do that.
Some of the things that you then do, when we hear habitat, we think the building of new houses and so forth. You're doing some of that, but are you also renovating and making sure water is available? Tell me some.
Right. The majority of our work is emergency home repair. So families that whose roofs have been, our main focus is disaster relief. So whether that be from hurricane or tornado or fire or flood, whatever that is. So we're able to respond quickly in that manner. And then with the aviation piece, that has allowed us to reach out farther and respond in a more efficient and faster manner, basically.
And you have volunteer teams come down for a week for longer than that?
Mostly, vast majority is a week, come in on a Sunday, and we work, serve out in the community Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday we take that day to go and see the rest of the island. Bahamians are very proud of their island and want to show off, God's creation and how beautiful it is, and so we do that on Friday and kind of take the day to relax, and then the groups leave out on Saturday.
The extravagant generosity theme and the just sort of this sense of being willing to serve in an area that you've come to love, but that sense of really making the sacrifice of this isn't about me, it's about how we can make a difference in the world. How would you encourage other people to look at in their own lives how to seek to make a difference?
I think the biggest thing is just to do it. I think so many times we get so comfortable in our just day-to-day, almost you could almost call them ruts. And I do the same thing in my as a missionary in the Bahamas. I still get in my same ruts, and sometimes I need to get kind of hit by the 2x4 to get out of my rut as well, which is one of my hopes for our ministry, is that we can be a catalyst. That we're so thankful for our volunteers that come down, but Tex Evans, who started the Appalachia Service Project, he said, if you never come back to Appalachia again, but you take this experience home with you and you do stuff in your own community, like that's just as important, and maybe even more important. And so we tell our volunteers to, we hope that you have a wonderful experience in the Bahamas, but you have 51 more weeks of your year. That's your faith journey. I mean, that's coming and serving in the Bahamas is a piece of that, and can be a very, very influential and a big catalyst to so much more. But it's in that everyday living and how you interact with your family and how you interact with your people at your church and people at the grocery store, and whatever. That's your life. That's your example. That's Christ living out within you. Methodist Habitat, one, to be able to serve those that are in need in the Bahamas, but then also to do so much more when you're back home. And I guess for me, it's just like, I don't know, I tell people, people ask me how long I've been there, and I say 6.5 years, and for them it's a bigger reaction than it is for me. I don't think about it just because it's become who I am right now. That's where I live. And so I say 6.5 years. People are like, 6.5 years? That's a long time. Extravagance, I think, can obviously come in very different ways. But I think it's Mother Teresa said, do small things with great love, and that's the extravagant part. Like, do it with amazing amounts of love. But it can be, sometimes giving people, somebody a hug. That's extravagant.
Sure.
And so I think we get so caught up in trying to be big and trying to do something great and huge, and it's usually not what it's about.
And it reminds me of a friend of mine that said, live fully and love wastefully. And that's what you're inviting volunteers to be a part of doing.
Yeah.
Making a difference in people's lives.